my scrappy friends, welcome to my channel. Today I have the third episode of Mojo Busters where we try to help just tackle some mojo issues that we all run into, or that many people run into, or that we're running into, and just kind of bust those and find ways to break out of that creative slump that we can get ourselves in. And I mean, I know I've talked a lot over the past couple of weeks about lots of stuff to do with pictures and different things that I try to do, and I find that, you know, I may have a period of time where I feel like I have to force myself to sit down and create, but you know, generally once I sit down and I'm creating, I generally don't mind what I'm producing. I might have 1 in 5 layouts that I don't really care for, and that's okay. We're not always going to like everything that we are creating. So I think the key is to keep pushing yourself, but also know when to take a step back. So Katty's challenge is to create our own background, and I find that being creative and playing with my supplies sometimes just helps me get excited about creating and making more layouts. So this is going to be just a really fun episode. I think it's going to be fun to see how each of us kind of decide to go about creating our own backgrounds. We all, you know, have different things that we gravitate towards when we use mixed media, just in general anyway. If you've been following me since I started my channel, you'll know that I really have went from pretty heavy mixed media to just like dabbles in it, and I think that it's because I've kind of found what I like to see in my albums and what I in the end feel like looks nice without being over too much. I think a lot of the stuff that I did, especially at the beginning, was me playing with my products and getting to know them. And I think that this is an important step. And you may not like everything that you did when you started, but if you don't keep playing with your products, you're not going to learn them. So I would even just suggest taking blank pieces of cardstock or paper and just playing with your products. Get to know them, because this is how you're going to decide what kind of stuff you want to use, what kind of stuff you don't want to use, and there is no right and wrong answer. So as you can see, I have this box. I keep a lot of my paints, and I keep or like my paintbrushes. I have some sequins stuck in here from some classes that I took, and I just had some stuff. I used to keep a lot of my smaller stencils in here, but I've since moved them to a drawer. And as you can see, I have some of these watercolor brushes, which I really, really enjoy using these, especially if I'm going to do some writing stuff. I still have some gelatos, and I really haven't bought in a ton of them. I find that the colors that I have pretty much work well with what I'm trying to do. I have some fall type colors. So these are some really, really nice fall colors. This is a really, these ones are really bright. And so some of them are a little bit different as far as, because they came in different packs. The names of them are on different places. Like, cause this is passion fruit. Yeah. And like some of these ones, they're up on the top. I'm trying to think if all of them have them on the top. I think the rest of mine have them all on the top. So I have some metallics. I don't really care for the gold. It's not very gold-like, but that's okay. And I have tons of brushes. I have some of the Faber-Castell brushes. I have some just brushes that I got from Crayola. I actually really like the way that these ones work. And then I got just like a pack of different kinds, and I found that I like these ones with the blue tip, but they're just a cheaper pack of different kinds. And this was more so that I can get an idea of what kind of brush, what kind of tips do I want, and if I want to do something, I have a different variety of sizes. What I was thinking for this page is that I was going to use some acrylic paints. I like to add some acrylic paints for something simple, and I thought I would just do probably more of like 3 chunks. So, you know, a line here, a line here, and a line here. And I just haven't decided if I want to use this brush, which is a little softer, or this one, which has thicker bristles, but you can see the paint in it better. I tend to like that look of seeing the brush strokes, but that is really something that's kind of particular to each person, and I think that's where playing around really helps, because you can learn if you like that look or if you like it more blended, and that's, like I said, is fine. I am not going to prep my page, and this is why. I am using smooth cardstock. This is like super smooth, and it's just American Crafts. And this is my favorite brand, the really smooth, well, or I should say the cheaper kinds. I've tried some Stampin' Up, and their white that is just plain is pretty nice too. But so I like it without the stuff on it, but you get a different result too. So think about that. Because I'm using acrylic paint, I'm not going to use gesso, but a lot of times I do use gesso. So if I use gelatos, I use watercolors, or anything that I think I'm going to have water in it, like sprays, I will use a gesso. I like to use clear, especially on white, unless I'm going to do it on a pattern paper that I'm trying to tone down. And then I don't mind using just like a basic white one. But I found, and I've tried a few different brands, and I like the Art Basics, and this is the Finnabar, so it's from the Prima brand, and I like it because it doesn't have any grain in it, and I don't like that grit that you get when you use the other brand, or I don't know the other brands, but I know for the other ones that I've tried have had grit in them, and I didn't like it. So, but if it's like the white one, it's more of a cream based and stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to do that because I'm just going to be layering like one splotch. So I think what I'm going to do is just splotch it. And I'm not being really technical. Yeah, that is not good. And this is why we keep stuff in. It's why it's good to shake your paint. And I'm just using pretty cheaper brands of paint. This is not like super amazing paint. There we go. Okay. This one is the Martha Stewart, so this one is going to be a little bit more nicer quality, but really they're not very, I don't go out and buy really, really expensive paints most of the time because I'm not using it to do anything super major. So you can tell the difference right here that this one, I don't know if it's just because of if it's older, if it's newer, I have no idea. So I think I'm going to do it with this, and I'm just going to go like this. And this is the key, is to just kind of decide, like, what do you want it to look like, right? Do you want it to be really bold? Do you want it to be really muted? Because that's the key to how your project is going to turn out. So I like this. You can see some of the brush strokes, but it's not super bold. Now this color back here is going to be really, really crazy, but I am doing a fall themed layout, I believe. And I'm going to, with some leaves, and I think that it will look okay. I'm also hoping to print out a cut file, which I haven't done yet, and I think that'll help too. Now, I'm just kind of rinsing it off in here, and if I was done with the brush, I would go into the sink and clean it out right away, but I'm not too worried. Ew, that is not very nice. Now, see, this is the difference with using cheaper stuff. Now, if you didn't like this result, one we could do is add a little bit of water. Now, like I said, we didn't prep the paper, so it's gonna be clumpier. And I have to decide, do I want to kind of mix the two together? And I think I do. I think I like that idea of having two of them kind of mixed, but you kind of got to do that towards the end. So it actually doesn't look too bad once I kind of mixed it around. I just added a little bit of water. And this is the thing that I like about mixed media, is sometimes it's pretty forgiving. Sometimes it's not. If you're using a stencil and you move that stencil over something, that's it. But the one thing that I like about mixed media is that it's pretty forgiving, and also you can always just start over, especially if you're using just plain white paper. Now here's one thing, that this is way bolder than these other two colors. So my next thing would be, do I want to add another color onto here that is similar but maybe not so bright? So I think what I'm going to do is kind of mess around with some of these other colors that I have and kind of make a color that I think is going to be maybe not so crazy. Now this is like a pinky, it's a coral color, but it definitely has a lot of pink in it. So it's going to be more pink. And this is the nice thing about mixed media, is that you can just, you know, dip and mix around and kind of get the color, a different color that you're looking for. This is a much better color. It's a lot muted, and I'm just going to rub it right on top. And it'll kind of blend in with that more brighter orange, but it won't be so bright. And just like the other one, I'm just going to kind of mix it in a little bit here. I kind of like the idea of maybe having a little bit more yellow in here. So I'm just going to squeeze a little bit more here. And then, because I already have the paint on here, it'll blend in right there. So this is what I'm going to use for my background. It's not very technical. Bloom. And I'm going to use a cut file, so I think that a lot of that will kind of get covered up and it'll help the colors pop. And I made it nice and simple, but I've covered a lot of the space because I don't really know where I'm gonna put my photo. I don't know any of this stuff. So if you can use media and spread it across the page, then you know that you're going to be able to see some of it. If I just picked a smaller spot, I might not be able to see it depending where I put my photo. So I'm going to clean up, and I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini part, and then I'll get back to making the rest of my layout. So while I was cleaning up my paintbrush and stuff, I got thinking about maybe anything else that I might want to do media-wise to my layout. And I think something that I'm thinking I'm going to do is, I think I'm going to take some white paint, and this is just plain white paint, and I think I'm going to water it down. I don't know if you can see, but I have just some water in here. And I'm gonna put it in here with the water. This is probably gonna be too thick, but that's okay. It's a lot, and I know I won't use it all, which means I wasted it, but that's okay. One thing that you could always do if you have extra paint or whatever and you don't want to toss it is just get another piece of like cardstock and use that, or get like an art journal. One thing I like to do that I have is I have just this sketchbook. It's just a regular like sketchbook, but I have a disc in there. I've done some like simple media stuff. I've done some drawing in here. It's just kind of where I like to play around. I've done just some pages and stuff. Nothing major, nothing anything like, oh my gosh. But sometimes if I have extra stuff, I will just take it. Like, I don't know if you remembered when I did another page that I did. I don't know where it is. I've seen it. But like, I've just, you know, taken stuff like that. And yeah, like I've taken my roller and I just rolled it on there. And it's just kind of a way for me to use up my media and just kind of have a little bit of fun with it. So I'll probably end up using some of that and just splattering this on here. But I was thinking that I could just do some drops in some spots. And I know that this isn't everybody's thing, but I don't know. There's just something about some nice big old drops. And I like the effect that you get with the acrylic paint as opposed to like spray inks and stuff. Sometimes it's not as, I don't know. Sometimes I don't like the spray inks that much. So I'm just kind of splattering it around, and I think I'm just going to leave it at that. And then I'm going to let this dry. I probably will let this dry overnight, or at least most of this evening. I could use my heat gun. I have an embossing heat tool that I use quite a bit, but here's the thing that I don't like about it, besides that it's really loud. Is that if I have splatters like this and I'm not careful, it will move my splatters, and I don't want that. I really want the shape of the splatters to be like this. And so I'm just going to leave it, and then when I go back in to do other stuff, if I don't like the way the splatter looks, I can cover it up or whatnot. So that's kind of my take on some of this kinds of stuff. Sometimes I will use a heat gun if I don't mind the way that it turns out. But a lot of times, if I can let it sit, I find it warps less. I mean, I don't know if you can see, but this is pretty warpy. It's pretty warped. Even if I had used the gesso, I think it would have warped just as much. So, I guess that's something to think about for yourself, and whether you think the gesso would help protect it and make it stronger. I mean, this isn't getting framed, so I'm not worried about the structural integrity of the paint and stuff, which is why you wouldn't necessarily want to just do this on a canvas without gesso and adding water to your acrylic paint. That's not really a good art technique. Using a paint thinner would be better because it keeps the structure of your paint better, but I'm not too worried about it flaking off of my layouts. So with that said, I'm gonna take that as another hint to leave, and if I do anything else, I'll come back on and kind of maybe talk you through how I do some other processes, because I'm thinking I might take a stencil or something and do something in some dark bold colors, like some black or something. A lot of times I like to take a stencil and draw with it instead of using it with a paste, but we'll see. So I am back. Welcome back. I decided that I was going to use a stencil and that I was going to outline the stencil with black, and I'm using a Pilot pen. I find that these work pretty good on different types of media. I mean, if I had modeling paste, I wouldn't be able to use it on there, but it works pretty good. So not a lot of my ballpoint pens do that, but it works pretty good on there. You could also use like a Sharpie or something, but I would suggest using a pen that you know can work on slick surfaces, because if you do a technique like this on acrylic paint, there is the chance for it to smudge if it doesn't dry quick enough. With the Sharpie has that problem sometimes. And as you can see, I'm not drawing every single triangle. I'm just kind of picking some random ones and some spots and just leaving it like that. And I really like how that turned out. It looks really, really nice. And so here is my cut file. This is a cut file from last fall from Hip Kits. This is when I first started getting their kits, and of course I didn't have a Cameo when I first started getting their kits, so I never used this file, but I decided that I wanted something maybe round that had quite a bit of open space, and so I really liked this one. I thought this would be nice and fun. I mean, I could have picked, you know, something with leaves or made my own with leaves, but I really wasn't wanting to spend that much time to do it on my own. But I like the way that media looks through cut files. It just looks really, really fun. And so it's a good way to kind of be creative and without being over, like you don't really have to do much, you know, a little bit of paint and those open spaces with white cardstock really helps. And this is at that point where you can do a little bit of stuff to a layout or a lot of bit of stuff. And I tend to go a little bit over instead of under, but that's okay. And I think that I find that when I am not in the groove of things, that I tend to go overboard a little bit easier because I'm a little bit more indecisive about what products maybe I want to use. So that's something to keep in mind when you are doing layouts and maybe you're kind of feeling a little uninspired, but you still want to create, is that just pay attention. You know, do you tend to over embellish or under embellish or spend a lot of extra time creating a layout because you're just not sure? And, you know, switching things up from your normal routine sometimes can help jumpstart your mojo, if you will. Or, I mean, I find that when I'm just not feeling it and my mojo's not working, the best thing to do is just walk away. But anyway, so I've decided to use these Pink Fresh Studio Happy Things stickers, or like letter stickers. They've been sitting in my stash for about a year now, and they're really fun, and I like the gold element. I was thinking I wanted gold. Now, at this point, I hadn't decided on which photo. Go figure, right? That is typically, I'm one way or the other. I will go through and pick a photo first, or I will just let things go and then figure out what photo. I really wanted to use the blue one, that one, but I didn't like the way that the pictures looked on a horizontal, like the full horizontal. I really like that picture. I think that would have looked really, really nice with the colors, but I didn't like the orientation of it. So you see, I'm like, do I do it anyway? And I'm like, do I want that one that has more? I mean, really, in the end, it doesn't really matter. So I stuck with this one, and I put some white cardstock to back it. I've been doing that a lot lately. I really like the way that it looks. It kind of helps separate it so it doesn't look so bad. And I picked the the one that had less leaves on it because you can see more of the ground and it kind of helps lighten, keep the layout nice and light. The other one was a little dark for all those colors. And so you've seen me gluing down some feathers. I had these wood jelly bean feathers and I had a whole bunch and I just decided to put them around the wreath. I don't generally use feathers. I actually kind of find them hard to use. So I just went with it. And I picked out some of this orange Chamel paper from her first collection. I had a little bit of a scrap left, and I thought that the orange kind of matched that orange down at the bottom a little bit. And then I went with that Maggie Holmes Script Hello paper. I'm not sure it necessarily fits because it's more off-white, and that was one thing that kind of bugged me. I mean, you don't see me. I stopped the camera for a little while because I was like, do I change it? But then I just decided to add more of this wood grain paper that I use to back my photo or my whole layout with. And I don't mind it so much. It doesn't look so like white with cream. Like sometimes that bugs. Sometimes I can do it and sometimes I can't. And this was one of those times where I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. But I just kind of add some other pieces that I think aren't so don't have as much vintage look. I don't know. I do know. The words are not coming out right tonight. I tried not to go overly vintage or distressed-ish because of all the white. So I did use that gold just to bring some more gold in, and I'm gonna add this doily that is yellow, and I just used just a little teeny tiny bit so you almost can't see it, but it's just peeking out. And then I remembered that I had these pieces from Chamel, and I also use that piece that says adventuring. It took me a long time to figure out exactly where I wanted it, and I'm still not super thrilled with it. And you'll see at the end I take some stuff off my layout because I just got looking at it and I don't know. I went a little over crazy, and I do this. And I think it's just because, go figure, I'm in another Mojo slump, right? All week, guys, I have not been wanting to scrap. But I've been forcing myself to do it because what do good girls do when you have assignments? You scrap anyway. Plus, I've found that I generally do enjoy the time that I spend in my craft room, even if I don't really necessarily am feeling it. And you know what I did? I just blasted music on my earbuds, and it helped a lot. I just found that I was a little bit more indecisive about things. So as you can see, now I'm adding some leaves to the top and bottom. Do I want to put that up there? And I don't. It's covering up some of the gold. Do I mind? I don't think it matters. Do I want to put that up there? Maybe. No, let's put it back here. Seriously, guys, I was just like very indecisive. And you know, and there's times in my mind where I hear Sandy say, just commit, just do it, just put it down and commit. And so, you know, it's those times where I just have to remind myself, Hannah, just stick down. Stick that stinking piece down. And, you know, you can always take it off later. Well, if you glue it, you can't take it off. And you'll see I do kind of change some stuff around a little bit at the very end. So you'll see that in the close-ups. And I like it much better. I think it flows a little bit better because I left, you'll see. But I do like the way that these Chamel trees look. They're nice and cute. They're kind of see-through. I think that there's a film on it, but I didn't try really hard to try to get the film off. See, so here I'm deciding, I'm not really sure I care for that up there. So let's see if I can put it somewhere else. And I think I do end up sticking it over to the side. But it's not going to stay there either. So that's one of the things that I took off. I don't know. It was just too much over there on that side. And I don't know. I didn't care for it. It was just too crazy. And that's okay. It's okay to dismember your layout. If you're not liking it, don't force yourself. So I know we say this a lot, is that sometimes you don't have to love your layouts. Absolutely love them. Right? But one of the things that I have found that maybe sometimes helps my mojo a little bit is that if I don't like it, just it's okay to pull it apart. It really is. So I really like these triangles. I found them in the washi tape booklet and I was like, you know, I should use these because I added triangles. Was it too much? Maybe. Should I thought of it before I put everything else down? Definitely. But you know, I actually really like the way that the gold ones look. They look really cool and snazzy. So you'll see those in the close-ups too. So here I'm trying to decide, do I want that gingham there? I actually really like it near the fall. I should have left it near fall and just had it be fallen leaves. Yeah, that would have been fun. And then it would have been like a play on fallen leaves. See, and this is things I don't think about when I'm scrapbooking with music on. And actually, I really like it there too, but I didn't like it in real life. So I put it back over to the side and it's going to stay there. And it moves a little bit more when I take off that leaf at the end, like after I film and I take some stuff off. But I really like it better without, like, once I took some stuff off. I mean, is it my favorite layout? No. Maybe it's because the picture wasn't as nice as like, I think that blue picture, I just really wanted to use it. And so this is one of those things for me that, you know, it's just a me thing. And maybe it is for you. And I think this picture I took with my iPhone. I was taking tons of pictures of my tree. Actually, my tree still has a few leaves on it. Believe it or not. They probably won't fall off until it gets really cold. They're just hanging on. And we probably won't get snow for a while. So it's still decently warm. It's like it's in the low 50s right now during the day. I mean, it feels cold to me, but everything feels cold to me still. I mean, I'm still in Hawaiian, you know, winter mode here. So, but I'm just going to put a few of these things around. I decided to use some of those green leaves and I am almost done with this, guys. Can you believe it? Actually really did not take me too long to do. I'm gonna look through this pack. There's a lot of things, but nothing really that it's also big. I could have started with something like that. So yeah, so I do use that and I use the leaf too, but I take the leaf off. So I kind of move some stuff around and you'll see how it looks later on. And the close-ups. Don't forget to check out Katty's, Megan's, and Christy's layouts, and leave a comment so that you can have a chance to win at the end for our giveaway. I hope you guys have a great week and keep the creativity flowing. Bye, guys.